I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world.
Hi, welcome to Chic Chat. It's your girl, the Chic Brown Chick, and I'm back doing my nails as usual. It seems like trying to save a few coins, I spend a lot of time doing my nails, but it also gives me a lot of time to do some research and learn some things. And I love to learn, I love to read, so that's why I do my little chit chats and tell you about what I read. I mean, I'm not a celebrity gossip girl. A lot of the stuff on YouTube's, and there's enough bloggers out there blogging about celebrity gossip. You don't need me. I'm not. You don't need me to tell you about some celebrity business, because first of all, I don't know, and second of all, I don't care, and third of all, yeah, see the first two. So, but I do like history, and I do like celebrity history, and I do like things that have happened in the past and how interesting they are. And you know, a lot of times when I listen to some of these bloggers, they throw out things that they might not quite have a lot of information about because they don't know history, they're not reading history. So I like to think that I can give them some context and some foundation to some of the things they say if they just listen to a little history, and then they can stop throwing out things like MK Ultra for Shia LaBeouf. When I heard that, I was like, okay, sure, the CIA wants to kill Shia LaBeouf. Yeah. So I find it interesting, but it's cute. But I'm off of that. In my little chit chat today, I have been researching Gucci. And of course, we were deprived of a lot of fashion. I mean, it was all online. And we were deprived of a lot of the things in 2020 that you would think we wouldn't miss, but we did. And one of those things is the fashion weeks and the Milan Fashion Week. And if you remember, in 2020, the Milan Fashion Week is what actually triggered the Italian pandemic, coronavirus pandemic. It happened after the Milan Fashion Week. And so I thought about that, how it all started. Well, it all started in Wuhan, China, but how it hit Milan and how badly it was affected, and made me think of Gucci. And I like Gucci. Gucci is my personal brand favorite. I know Gucci had some controversy a couple of years ago. I believe it was 2017, 2018, when they had that very unfortunate incident with the face that looked like blackface on the sweater. Yeah, I'll put it up. Yeah, it was unfortunate, but I still love Gucci. I bought a bag. I mean, it wasn't the most expensive bag, but I got me a Gucci bag. So I decided, since I gave some money and some money, let me learn about this brand. So I did. And very fascinating thing to find out that the Gucci's a little ratchet. Unfortunately, Gucci was started by a man by the name of Gucci. And Gucci came from Florence, Italy. And his father was a craftsman, a leather craftsman. And he comes from that area of Italy where artisans, they work in leather. I don't know if you've ever had an Italian leather bag, but once you have, there's no other bag to be had but Italian leather, because that area has kind of developed or nurtured artisans in leather. And so Gucci wasn't fascinated by it. He grew up with it, so he decided, hey, let me seek my fortunes elsewhere. So in the 1890s, Gucci went to London, and he started working a series of jobs. And one of those jobs was at the Savoy Hotel in London. And the Savoy was a very high-end hotel, very chic, very nice. And one thing that he noticed was the posh and the elegant carried nice bags. And so he just really was enamored with the baggage of it all. He was like, wait a minute, there's something here. They were spending a great deal of money for the craftsmanship, because at one time the jet set was the life. I mean, when you were rich, you jetted around. You didn't stay in one spot. You had your place, say, in New York, but you went to Paris, went to London. You lived that life, and you spent seasons in, say, you spent a season in the south of France, and then you spent your winters and here or there. So he saw the baggage that these people were carrying, and he fell in love with it. He found his calling. And so he decided to go back to Florence, and he set up shop in Florence, where he's from. And Guccio was married, and he had 5 sons. Ugo, Rodolfo, Gustavus, Aldo, and one son died in childhood. And Ugo, Gustavo, Rodolfo, and did I say Aldo already? So those are 4, and then the 5th one died, and he had a daughter that wasn't a part of the business. Now, Guccio actually died in 1954, leaving a very successful business behind. His son, Aldo, had actually opened up the New York store in 1954, right before his father died. And to honor their father, they came up with the double G. So when you see the double G, that double G stands for the founder, Guccio, Gucci. So that's where the double G came from. His sons did that in honor of the founder of the house of Gucci, Guccio, Gucci. Now, here comes the ratchetness of it all. Guccio left a very successful company to his sons, and Aldo became kind of the chairman or the head, but they all had a share. They all had a share. Rodolfo had 1 son, Maurizio, and Aldo had 3 sons. And his other brothers had sons. So there were Rodolfo Gucci had 1 son, but his brothers had many sons. So Rodolfo had 50% of Gucci, and his brothers had the other 50%, but they had to split it amongst not only themselves, but their children, because it was a family business. So that made Rodolfo, he had a lot of shares, basically. But Rodolfo was not interested in the business. Rodolfo was gorgeous, and he was an actor. And so he wasn't really interested in running the business. Aldo, however, he was very interested in running the business, and he did. But Aldo wasn't creative. Aldo and his children used it as a cash cow, as their personal bank. And they didn't have the creativity of Guccio. Aldo made some business decisions that weakened the brand. And he was licensing out the Gucci brand, and which watered it down. So you had Gucci everywhere, Gucci, Gucci, Gucci. In the 80s, Gucci, the brand Gucci wasn't as prestigious as it is now, because Aldo licensed it out. Gucci sheets, Gucci hats, Gucci. And so that watered down the brand value. So and not only that, there was a lot of infighting, and they were very litigious. They sued the crap out of each other over every little thing. This family was just a hot mess. But let's get to the beginning of a scandal. As I said, Rodolfo, who was the gorgeous actor, the brother, the Italian actor, he had one son, Maurizio. And Maurizio married or fell in love with a woman by the name of Patrizia. But his father did not like Patrizia. His father told Maurizio that Patrizia was a gold digger, and all she wanted was his money, and he did not approve of her at all. And but Maurizio married her anyway. Now, Maurizio, being an only child, his mother died when she was fairly young. She was about 44 years old, and I believe Maurizio was about 6 years old when she died. So he was almost like a motherless child, and his father never remarried. So Patrizia coming into his life, she was a very strong woman, very demanding, very just a high temper. So it was almost like he was getting a mother in a way. They said she was very hard on him, very verbally hard on him, very verbally abusive, and that he was almost handpicked. She almost had him handpicked. And so, yeah. So when Maurizio, and these Italian names are getting, Maurizio married Patricia, Rodolfo disowned him. Nobody in the Gucci family showed up to this wedding. This is how much they didn't like Patrizia. She was a gold digger to them. They was like, we don't know parts of that. So so the family didn't even accept her. But Patrizia was a gold digger, and she really stayed on her husband about making this relationship right. It is said about Patrizia, she was all about the name. She wanted not only wealth, but she wanted status. She wanted social status. And in Milan and Florence, there was no more greater social status than the name Gucci. So it was even said that she was dating a wealthy man at the time that she met Maurizio, but he didn't have a name. He was just a trucker, not a trucker. He owned a trucking company, and he was wealthy, but he was just wealthy. He didn't have the name and the social standing of Gucci. So his father was right. Patrizia was a gold digger, and she didn't really hide it very well at all. So she pressures Maurizio to, make it right with your father, And so he does. He makes it right with his father, and him and his father stay on the sideline of the family business. Like I said, his father was an actor. He wasn't really interested in going into the design business or the fashion industry. He was a actor, and he was very financially well off either way as a Gucci. So it wasn't a thing for him. But Maurizio harbored a secret animosity towards his cousins and his uncle Aldo for what they were doing to the Gucci name. By these licensing deals and watering down the brand, watering down what their grandfather had built up. He felt like they were just destroying it. So, but he didn't have the power to do anything about it. His father was 50% owner, and his father just wasn't stepping into that arena. But his father died. And when his father died in the 80s, 50% shares of Gucci went to him. Maurizio was, at first, he didn't act initially. But his wife, Patrizia, she kept pressuring him to get more involved, get more involved, get more involved. But what he did was one day he told her he was going to take a business trip. And this was in 1985. They had been married at that point about 12 years. He told her he was going to take a short business trip. He left and never came back. He left Patrizia. And not only did he leave, he didn't even tell her. He sent, first he sent a friend, a doctor over. He sent a doctor over to talk to Patrizia and tell her, I'm leaving you. He's leaving you and he's not coming back. And the doctor offered her Valium. And she was furious. She kicked him out. And she said, you tell him he come tells me, you break up with me to my face. You don't send your friend, don't send no doctor over here to talk to me. You do this to my face. Well, he ain't do that. He know Patrizia. She was probably laying them hands, putting them hands on him, and he was done. He was tired of her. And so he hit the door, you know. And yeah, and they had 2 kids together, but he left her. And then he proceeded to go for the business. And one of the things he did was get his uncle ousted as CEO of Gucci in New York. Now, unfortunately, Aldo had 3 sons, and I'm not going to go into butchering up their names. Paolo, Aldo, Paolo, Fredo, and yeah, as you can see, they were very Italian. Well, one of the sons did not like his father, Aldo, and he only had about 3% share in Gucci. And so he colluded with Maurizio, went into a board meeting, and voted his uncle Aldo out. Yeah. But his promise, because he had such few shares, Maurizio promised, I think this is Paolo. Maurizio promised Paolo that he could open up a shop using the Gucci name once they got Aldo out, because his father wouldn't allow him to use the Gucci brand name. So Maurizio said, okay, once we get your father out, I'll let you do it. I'll let you, branch off and have a sub Gucci, as you would, a sub Gucci brand. But he didn't do that. So in revenge, Paolo went to the authorities in Italy and said that Maurizio had inherited his father's fortune, which is about $200 million, and didn't pay the inheritance tax because he signed over shares in his father's name. So he did some shady dealing. So Maurizio, just ousting Aldo from the head of Gucci in New York and taking over, was now suddenly under investigation for tax evasion. So Maurizio just now getting, decides he's going to fight this, but he fights it from Switzerland. So he leaves Italy, goes to Switzerland to fight these tax evasion charges. At the same time, Paolo is getting his father locked up in jail on some more fraud charges. So Paolo was a hot mess. Let me tell you, Paolo, he had one cousin on the run and put his own father in jail. Yeah, so this family, they stayed fighting. They stayed suing each other. And it just stayed crunk. They just stayed crazy. So at this time, Maurizio is on the run. He's in Switzerland. He's divorcing Patrizia, and he's fighting these tax evasion charges in Italy. During this time, while he's fighting, he calls Morgan Stanley, and if you saw my previous video, you know what that means. He says, I want to call Morgan Stanley and say, hey, I need y'all to get me an investor to buy out my family, buy out the rest of these crazy Gucci's. And so Morgan Stanley, as you know from my previous videos about JP Morgan, put together a syndicate or found a syndicate. And this syndicate was called Investcorp, which is a Middle Eastern company. They came in and said, okay, we're going to buy out the Gucci's. All the other Gucci's, they're 50%. And at that time, Gucci's was money crazy. They were all money hungry. So they sold. First, Paolo which is the one that was wanted his own store, didn't get it, and then put his father in jail. Paulo sold first, and then they all started selling. All the other Gucci started selling it until Investcorp had bought up all the shares, 50% shares of Gucci, and they left Maurizio. During that time when Investcorp had been, negotiating a sale with the other Gucci's, Maurizio won or settled his tax evasion charges in Italy over his father's inheritance. Like I say, he inherited like $225 million. So his father was a wealthy man. So once he inherits, he settles the tax evasion situation in Italy. Maurizio is poised to become the CEO of Gucci in New York, and he does. And one of the things he does is he kills all of those licensing deals. He makes Gucci exclusive again, so no more Gucci t-shirts, no more Gucci sheets, no more Gucci and JCPenney. Nah. He killed all of that in the 80s. He was like, over, done. Gucci became exclusive again. And he did something else. He brought in Tom Ford, the designer, to design a collection, to design. But initially, when he cut off all the licensing deal, that was very lucrative to the Gucci family. And the Gucci started taking a hit, Maurizio being one, and Investcorp, because all the licensing is gone now. So all the money is gone. So now they got to build up Gucci all over again. So it's like it's baby Gucci now. So Investcorp is losing money. Maurizio is losing money because, like I said, the licensing is gone. So he brings in Tom Ford, and Tom Ford, he has to design. He has to save Gucci. Basically, they brought Tom Ford in to save Gucci, and it did. Tom Ford's collection from the 80s all the way up, it just took Gucci to the next level. So Maurizio had the vision. He had the vision. He had the know-with-all that he knew he had to get rid of his crazy cousins and his uncle them that was just out for the money. They was just draining Gucci dry. And that's rare for a third generation, because a lot of times a company will be started by one person, the grandfather. The children will do good for the company, but the third generation, the grandkids, are running in the ground. But it was actually flipped. It was Guccio's sons that was running in the ground, and his grandson that saved Gucci. So, yeah. So Maurizio, even though it didn't look like he was saving Gucci, he did. But Maurizio, Investcorp eventually came in and bought out Maurizio because, of course, they were losing money. Tom Ford hadn't produced the line yet that was going to sell, and the cutting off of the licensing deals was bleeding everybody dry. And Maurizio had a high lifestyle. He was a rich boy all his life. He knew nothing but the best. So yeah, Maurizio was also draining the coffers. So Investcorp comes in and buys Maurizio out. So he lost some money, but he did get bought out, and he got bought out to the tune of about $100 million. Now, let's get to the scandal of Gucci, the scandal that rocked the house of Gucci. So at this time, like I said, Maurizio had left Patrizia. And that divorce was nasty, of course, because Patrizia was a nasty little girl. She was nasty. She was just not pleasant. And I don't know why. Nobody knew why Maurizio stayed with her as long as he did. I think it was, like I said, he had a mother complex thing, and he got over that, and he was out of there. I think it was the mother complex, because he lost his mother at a young age. Patrizia was domineering. Then she had kids. But after 12 years, he was done. By 1991, their divorce was finally final. And at the same time when his divorce was being finalized, He was also being bought out by Investcorp. So Patrizia, now it is said, now it is true that I'm going to talk about Patrizia because this is the beginning of the end for Maurizio. Patrizia was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was benign. And she had to have a surgery to remove this tumor out of her head. And Maurizio did not come to the hospital. Now, they had a contentious relationship. And it is sad that the doctors asked Maurizio not to come because they knew Patrizia and him had such a tumultuous relationship that it might upset her. But so he sent flowers, signed Maurizio Gucci. And this upset her. She was so angry. And it is so that as of that day, that's when she started formulating in her mind that she wanted to kill Maurizio. Yeah, because it was in her journal, she wrote when she got home from the hospital, vengeance. I believe it was in Greek or Latin. So at that point, Patrizia had picked up a strong hate for Maurizio. So strong that people knew it. She was not afraid to talk about how much she hated her husband or her ex-husband, Maurizio. She also, at this time, started hanging out, seeing psychics, and going to started dabbling in the occult. She had a magician, and that's what they call him in Italy. She had a magician that was around her all the time. It was so worrisome to Maurizio that he started having her follow. He had a detective following her, and just saying she's really dabbling heavily in the occult. Why? I don't know, but she did. She started dabbling heavily into the occult. And so, yeah, Maurizio, he has this $100 million. He's now unemployed. And so he starts trying to decide what he wants to do with his life. He's got a new girlfriend, he got him a nice apartment, it's all going well for him. And Patrizia is just hating. I mean, she over there hating. She divorced now. Her lifestyle is half of what it used to be. She got these girls, they have grown, so child support finna dry up. No, the child support had dried up because the girls were adults at this time. They were young adults, so ain't no child support. She living, she was hating. And she was looking for anybody to kill her husband. She was literally going out asking people to help her find a hitman to kill her husband. She had this psychic friend, and she asked her to find somebody. Now, at first she didn't. She knew this guy that worked as a doorman at this crappy motel, and she said, okay, he could do it. And so she said, okay, well, get him to do it. But she didn't move fast enough, so she kept calling and bugging her, and she said, well, Patrizia, you go over there and talk to him. So Patrizia goes over to this crappy motel, talks to the doorman about a hitman. The hitman said, yeah, I can get somebody. He goes over to the pizza parlor, asks the pizza man. The pizza man said, I'll kill him. Just like that. And so they set up this thing, and I think they got paid like $500 and $700 to go and kill Maurizio Gucci. Now, I don't want to downplay the hate and just hate Patrizia felt for Maurizio. So I'm going to just backtrack a little bit before I get to the deed of what happened once she secured the hitman. Patrizia spoke very openly about her hatred for a former husband. This was in 1995. but from 1991 to 1995, Patrizia would tell anybody who listened that she wanted to kill her husband. She spoke with I believe a doctor friend about it. And at first he thought she was just kidding. And then she spoke to him about it again, about killing her husband. And he said, look, don't talk about this. He went to the point, it was so disturbing to him. And he actually put it in writing. He sent her a letter to cease talking about killing your husband. So it was very open. She was very open about her disdain for Maurizio. She also, like I said, she was a gold digger. It was all about the money. Once Maurizio had gotten this money from Investcorp, he began to, make some business investments and things like that. And he also got a girlfriend. And Patrizia she told friends that he's spending our money, meaning her and her daughters, because they were his heirs. He's spending our money. So she still had this gold digger mentality. She was all about the money still. So Maurizio's living his best life at this point. He's a multimillionaire. He has a young, beautiful girlfriend. He gets this lavish, very posh apartment in downtown Milan and gets an office there. And so the girlfriend goes about setting up this apartment in High Appointment. It's very nice. She's toning it up in the best of Italian style. And Patrizia is hating, and her fear is this girl's going to get pregnant, and you're going to have to split the money with this new child, and he's going to marry her. And no longer would she be the only Miss Gucci. He would have another wife. So this is what's leading up to what happens. In March of 1995, Maurizio, as I said, he had an apartment downtown and an office. He's happy. He has a new girlfriend. They have a nice apartment. He has his business. He leaves for work one day. He walks to work, goes into his office, opens the front door into the lobby, and there's a security guard right there in the reception area. And someone comes behind him and shoots him in the back of the head twice. A person sees this, comes around the corner, witnesses this, and the person who shot Maurizio Gucci, assassinates Maurizio Gucci, shoots at this person. And they run off and get in the getaway car and get away. Well, Maurizio is assassinated. He's dead. Maurizio ain't dead a week. And Patrizia walks up into the apartment that he has with his girlfriend and evicts her. It wasn't even 2 or 3 days. She had eviction papers in her daughter's name because couldn't be in her name because she wasn't the wife. In her daughter's name, evicts the girl out the apartment and moves in to the apartment Maurizio had with the girlfriend. Told you she was just hating. She was a hater. She was a gold digging hater. Kicks the girl out of the apartment and moves into the apartment. She feel like she back. I'm back, y'all. Patrizia was a bona fide certified hater. If you ever met a hater, a gold digging hater, Patrizia Gucci was that. So the police, the Italian police, first thought it was a mob hit because it is Italy. And they going around, they would do that kind of thing, kill people in the middle of the day. But it was so sloppy that they thought, maybe not the mob. But they checked the mob, and the mob said, no, why would we kill Maurizio Gucci? He had no dealings with us. Why would we want him dead? So the mob angle was quickly knocked out by the police, probably not the press. The press love a story. So, but no, it wasn't the mob. So it took the police about 2 years to find out who did it. And the person who ended up turning her in was one of the people who killed Maurizio. And apparently she didn't give somebody their money. Now she had the money now because Maurizio was dead and her daughter, she was kind of, they let her run everything. She had the money, but she didn't pay that person. And when she did finally pay this person, they wrote it down. The hitman was the driver, wrote down on a piece of paper, a napkin, out of the pizza parlor, "You owe me no more money." So it was like $700. So he said, okay, like a receipt. He gave her a receipt for killing her husband. Yeah. He gave her a receipt. So the person, the driver who wanted the money, called the police and told them what happened, led them to the doorman. He was still working as a doorman because, like I said, they didn't get that much money. The doorman led them to the pizza man, and yeah. So anyway, Patricia, they go to arrest Patricia, and they say when they went to arrest her, Miss Gucci goes upstairs, dresses in her furs and all her diamonds. She puts on all her jewelry, all her fur, her nice fur and all her diamonds, and walked downstairs. The police were in shock. It was like, "I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeVille." And she walks downstairs to be arrested. And of course, the cameras are flashing. She got all her diamonds and her fur. And they take her to the jail, and they take all that crap off her and throw her in the jail. Yeah. So she gets in there, and they said she really didn't think she was going to be convicted. She really had this air of entitlement, like, whatever, just get this over with. I had a brain tumor. I didn't know what I was doing. Wink, wink. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm crazy. Wink, wink. Yeah, you crazy. Hypnotized with that hate. Crazy, but you ain't that crazy. She got convicted. She got convicted for murdering her husband, murder for hire. Gave her 29 years. Gave the doorman 25 years. The psychic lady, she got time too. I think she got 20-some years too. Everybody got about 25 years. She got 29, 25, and the hitman got life. But everybody else got a good quarter. Everybody got a quarter. So Patricia is in jail. And her children, Maurizio's daughters, are fighting for her. One of her daughters went to law school to try to help her mother because they feel like their mother wasn't in her right mind. She had this brain tumor and made her act erratic. And that's why she did this. She wasn't in her right mind and trying to get her out. Allegra, her daughter named Allegra. So that's what happened. Maurizio Gucci was assassinated at his place of work by his ex-wife, Patricia, over money, jealousy, greed. That's it. Hypnotized with hate. She was such a gold digger, and she was so hateful. It made her actually ugly. Her hate and her jealousy just made her ugly from the inside out. She was just a despicable person. And if he had just listened to his father, the lesson from history on this one is sometimes people are telling you things that you can't see. And if you would listen, it's for your betterment. It's not that his father was being judgmental. He judged her correctly. She's a gold digger. And she was. And she was to the bitter end. And I mean, a hating one too. A hating, nasty gold digger at that. I mean, she was counting his coins long after he had signed them divorce papers. She was a jealous, nasty person. But anyway, that's the story of the House Gucci. There are no Guccis currently involved in the Gucci brand. It's $1 billion brand now. I saw a story where a journalist went to Paulo Gucci and talked to him. He has a little shop now. He finally got his shop, and he cared nothing about Maurizio's murder. He gave 0 F's about that. He was more upset that he sold his share in Gucci, that he's not a part of it anymore. he's just more bitter and angry about that. His cousin being killed? Whatever. He did. You know, them Gucci's, it was like a legacy of hate, really, a legacy of greed. The Gucci brand, the Gucci name. But yeah, Tom Ford actually revitalized that brand, brought it back to life, and handed it off. And it's Gucci now is the exclusive brand that it is. But Gucci's greed, jealousy, hate, that's what they were about. And that's what happened to Maurizio. His hating gold digging ex-wife had him killed for his money. Okay, so stay chic, don't hate, get your own, stay educated, stay smart, and stay alive. Until next time.